Hello, and welcome to the LARC Patriot VE Team Exam Tools Refreshers video. The purpose of this video is to refresh VEs on the operation of exam tools during a typical exam session. This is not a replacement for an in-depth Laurel VEC, Patriot VE Team, or exam tools training. First, you must log into exam tools. At an actual session, you will be using exam.tools. For purposes of this demo, we'll be using examtools.dev. When you go to that page, you'll see a few options here. You will want to click on Sign In under Assist or Manage Exams. You'll then provide your exam tools user ID and password, and you'll need to click this box to accept their privacy policy. And we'll log in, and you'll be taken to this session list view. Once you confirm you will be at a test session, we add you to it, and it will show up in this list. We limit the sessions to 10 candidates, so there may be multiple sessions occurring on the same day, so make sure you select the correct one. To change to a different session, you just click back on this session list and then click over here. You might notice if you have a device that has a narrower display like a cell phone, you won't see session list on the left. You click on this little button here to pop up the menu, and that's where you can select it from. If you're one of the table VEs, you'll be operating in the room upstairs. What you do is sign in, you click on your session, and then once the applicants come up, be sure to greet them, get them seated at a table. If someone is seated at your table, be sure to introduce yourself, and you can click on the Applicants tab to see a list of the applicants that are registered for the session, and make sure you select the correct candidate. We have had instances before where we'll have a father and a son that's a junior and senior that may have the same name, or other unrelated people that have similar names, so make sure you're selecting the right candidate. So what you do when they sit at your table is go Assign VE and assign them to yourself. That will show up here that they've got 3 VEs. Typically one is the session manager, one will be a supervising VE, and then the other is the table VE. You also want to check to make sure that their ID matches their name, and you can click under Manage and Edit Applicant, and that will bring up their detailed information. Review that, make sure it is all correct. And then at that point, you can help them to get on the Wi-Fi, go to the exam.tools page. So they'll see this same page. In their case, they'll click on this Join Exam session to take an exam. Once they click on that, they'll type the session call sign, which will be W0PCT for the real session. And then for their user PIN, if they've forgotten their PIN in the candidate list here, this 4-digit number in the left is their PIN. So this candidate is 2207. And they click join a session and they'll get blocked because the session hasn't started. So at this point, you can leave them here and tell them to wait until they're instructed to attend the session. So that at this point, the session manager will do the briefing, they'll start the session, and then the candidates can click to join the session. And one thing that'll happen, they're going to get blocked right away with this request to join. So on your tablet, you'll have this applicants assigned to me, and you'll see this little red icon over here, and also a notification here saying that there's an action awaiting your response. So you can click up here, and it's saying that good candidate wants to join the session. So if you've checked them in and everything, you can click on that and approve them. And then now the candidate is able to click on this button and start the actual tech exam. When they do so, they're going to be blocked again. You'll see another pending action. And in this case, they're wanting to actually start the exam. So since this is their first exam, we start them, approve it, and they're on their way. It shows they're taking element 2. It's in progress. They've answered 0 out of 35 questions. Now, as they go through and start taking the exam, you'll notice this bar moving across the top. That's a progress bar showing you that they're proceeding through the exam. You can also hover over this and it will show you how many questions they've answered. And notice this is not saying how many are correct or incorrect, just how many they've entered an answer for. And you'll have multiple candidates doing that, of course, when they're all taking the exam. When they get finished, the bar will stop. You go down here, you see 35 out of 35. Now, they may still be reviewing, going back over it and checking, make sure all their answers are correct. You probably want to kind of keep an eye on them and see when it looks like they're finished. They might not know what to do to continue, but they'll have a grade button on their client. And when they click on that to grade, again, it'll come up with this block. So you want to go ahead and approve them to be graded. They'll see their score right away. You can hover over this. You see that they passed 35 out of 35. At that point, the candidate will be given a choice either to finish or to sign their paperwork. For this candidate, we're going to have him go ahead and select that they want to finish. They'll check their forms over, enter their name, sign it, and they get one final confirmation. And now they are finished. On your screen, you will see that this signatures button has turned green and it has a 0 up here indicating that nobody has signed for them yet. So at this point, you click on it. You click next to your name to sign. You will have to preview the applicant forms. You want to check and make sure that they're CSCE. It should show that they've passed the correct exams, given the correct license. And then also the thing you want to check for sure is make sure they have a signature down here. Sometimes people skip over that step and we don't see that. So make sure that there's a signature there. Same for the 605. Once you're satisfied those are correct, you enter your password to e-sign for it. We have one VE signing, 2 left. So at this point, if you're a table VE, the supervising VE should notice this and pick it up. If you've been waiting for a while and they don't seem to be busy or noticing, be sure and flag them down so they can continue on that. I'm going to just go ahead here and sign for these 2 dummy VEs. And now that user is finished. So once you've signed off, you're essentially done with them. We do print up a paper CSCE for them, so you need to make sure that they get that. We'll pick one of these other candidates that we've got here. Let's say this bad candidate here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to join into the session. Their PIN is 8274. I will pick 8274. Join the session. So this is what they see, this requesting to join. So we'll go over here and approve them. Here's where they see their Start Technician Exam button. So again, they get blocked, and you will approve them over here to get started. And now they'll see their questions on their exam. So this guy is a bad candidate. He's going to answer A for everything. One thing you'll notice too, if they skip a question, it'll show up in a list up here, and ExamTools will keep track of it, and it'll pop. You'll see when we get down to question 35, it should go back to question 16 so they can fill it in. So there it went back to 16. Now if we look back over here, their bar is all the way finished. They've got 35 out of 35. So they're going to click on grade, blocking for the VE. We'll go ahead and approve the grading. And you can already tell they failed. So they only got 8 correct out of 35, which is way below our retake policy. If you recall, the retake policy for the Patriot VE team is they may retake the same exam up to 2 times if they fail by no more than 5 points. So for tech in general, that means they have to get 21 correct. For extra, they have to get 32 correct. Obviously, they got 8 correct, so they're not able to retake the exam. But ExamTools is still going to give them that option. So they may think, oh, I can pass, I'll click on this. They're going to get blocked, and this is where you need to pay special attention. So there you've got a request to start an exam, but they failed by too many points. So what you do when you click on that, you reject it this time. And then they'll see that the request has been declined. At that point, you'll probably have to go over and actually talk to them about it. Even if they pass and want to go on to take the next exam, they're going to be prompted for that as well. The Patriot VE team officially doesn't push people to take subsequent exams unless they've studied for them. So if they say, well, I don't know if I should try it or not, ask them, have you studied for it? Are you prepared for it? If they say no, then say, well, we really recommend that you go off, study, and then come back and test at another session. If they either say, yeah, I think I'm okay, or they just want to continue on and don't say anything, we will allow them to do that. Let's say this guy did actually have enough points to retest. So he clicks the Start Tech exam again, and we approve him. So now he's failed this one, and he's got another one that's in progress. What I wanted to show here is we do have some candidates occasionally that take paper exams. So if they do an exam on paper, they need to fill out the paper answer sheet, and you should help them with that before the exam begins. You need to make sure that they fill out and bubble in their applicant PIN, the test ID from their test booklet. If they have a tech or general exam, there's another bubble they fill in, and then they have to write their name and date on the sheet. Now, when they finish and want to be graded, you won't see any indication of that here, and your progress bar won't make any progress since they're doing it on paper. But what you do is at the top here, there's this grade cam button. So you would click on that, and it'll activate your camera. And then what you do is you hold up their answer sheet in front of the camera, and it'll try to, you want it to get to a green border there when it recognizes a test, and you may have to make sure your paper is flat, and it can be kind of difficult to get this to scan, so you might want to put your paper down. Yeah, here it says it's having trouble focusing on it. But anyhow, if it works, it'll come up and actually grade their exam, and then you can go back to the session, and it should have filled in the grade for here. Now, one thing, when you do grade them, there's a section in the lower right-hand corner of the paper that you, as the grading VE, have to fill out. It says pass/fail, so you circle whichever one's applicable. It asks for their grade, so you put how many they got correct out of 35 or 50, and then you sign it down where it says VE. So make sure you fill all of that out. That's something that's frequently missed. Something else that can happen, especially in the case of this exam, I didn't fill out the tech or general bubble at the top, and for one of the questions I actually answered, I put two answers. I circled or filled in A and B. So what ExamTools will do, it'll come up and show you those things and say, which is it? Is it tech or general? Or which one is the correct answer? Because sometimes people fill it out and they erase it and they don't get it erased all the way, and ExamTools recognizes it. You don't want to select those answers on your tablet. What you need to do is return it to the candidate, have them correct it on the piece of paper, and then rescan it with ExamTools. So we want everything to scan 100% on ExamTools with no ambiguity. Okay, and this last time, let's go through for this third candidate. We will go ahead and see how it works from the candidate's side, so you'll be familiar with what they look at. So there's 6931, 6931. They join the session. They get this request to join, and you'll approve them. So in this case, this says applicants not assigned to me. I should not have approved that candidate because they're not at my table. So you should only deal with the candidates that are at your table. But for purposes of this demo, I'll go ahead and do it here, and I will assign him to me. So now the applicant sees this stuff. They go to start their exam. They get blocked again. You approve them. And then now they see their test. So they're finished. They can go back and review. They click on grade. They get blocked. The VE authorizes the grading. They see that they've passed. Here you see the two buttons. They can either continue on with the next exam, or if they're finished, they click on Finish and Sign Forms. So it's going to ask them to verify if they're sure. Now this is the part that probably all of them skip, but what we want them to do is click on these two links to review their forms. They need to look at them, make sure all of their address and other information is correct for both their 605 and their CSCE. Then they have to e-sign the document. So they do that by typing in their name, and then having to enter a signature down here. And then they can click on this to sign their documents. Gives them one last chance to check everything. At this point, they're done. They can close their stuff down. They're good to go. Over here, we see that they're into the state where they're looking to get their stuff signed. And once again, we want to make sure what happens every now and then is people will click on this and not complete that e-sign procedure. We've also had problems with people that take paper exams. The exam will get graded, they'll see their passing score, and they'll pack up and leave. One thing I didn't show that you need to do, so if this was a paper exam, is you would go in and change the status to ready to sign. Because they're taking the test on paper, ExamTools doesn't know if they're done or not. So you do ready to sign, and now the next time this candidate, 8274, signs in, which we would have to let them sign in either with your own device or with one of our loaner devices. And they're 8274. As soon as they join this session and get approved, they're taken directly to the signing page where they can review their forms and e-sign. This is something else that's very commonly forgotten. People take their exam on paper, see that they passed, close up and want to leave. And this is why you, as the VE, need to be sure that you check the forms when you go to sign them and preview their applicant forms and make sure there's a signature down here. If this line is blank, that probably means you didn't go through that e-sign process with them. Okay, once they are totally finished and have received their paper CSCE, they can leave. There's a table usually by the door that has a bunch of information about ham radio stuff, LARC Club, the Patriot VE team, and so on. They're welcome to take. We also try to have at least one VE outside somewhere that can talk to them, answer any questions for them they might have, or chat with them. If we don't have such a VE, or if they want to talk to you specifically, we do need to keep the exam room quiet, so be sure to tell them that you'll be happy to talk to them, but they need to hang around until after everybody is done testing. Something else with the exam room, we need to keep it quiet, and you also need to make sure that you, as the table VE, are focused on the users at your table. Don't get lost in your tablet, watching the little bar go across. Don't check your email. We need to focus on the candidates, make sure they aren't running into any problems with ExamTools or that they aren't finished, and make sure they aren't cheating or anything. Be sure to focus on them when they are taking the test. Thank you for viewing this training. We look forward to having you at our upcoming VE sessions.